Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're all doing amazing today. In this video, we're diving into the latest updates about Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos. You don't want to miss this. So make sure to stay tuned till the end and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. The morning sun over New York City rose slowly, casting a pale, hesitant light over the skyline, as if even the day itself sensed that something was wrong. For Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos, one of America's most beloved television couples, this was the kind of morning they never imagined they would face. It began quietly, almost unnoticeably. Kelly had woken before her alarm, restless, her hand instinctively reaching for her phone. A flood of messages lit up her screen, texts from her siblings, missed calls from relatives, and a short, trembling voicemail from her cousin that made her heart stop before she even pressed play. Something terrible had happened. Mark was still asleep, his arm draped loosely across her. She hesitated for a moment, trying to steady her breathing. For someone who spent decades smiling through early mornings on live television, Kelly suddenly felt as though the air had been sucked out of the room. She pressed play. The voice on the other end broke almost immediately. "Kelly, please call me back. It's about your mother." Kelly sat up so quickly that Mark jolted awake. He took one look at her face and knew, instinctively, deeply, that whatever was happening was not something small. Not something that could be brushed away with a cup of coffee or a reassuring smile. "Kel, what is it?" But she couldn't speak. The fear lodged itself in her throat like a stone. For years, Kelly had been fiercely protective of her family. Despite her fame, despite the cameras that watched her every move, she guarded her private world with quiet determination. Her mother, Esther, had always been the cornerstone of that world, a gentle, steady presence who avoided publicity but supported her daughter with unwavering love. Kelly dialed back, her hands shaking so visibly that Mark gently took the phone and pressed the call button for her. When her cousin answered, the sound that came through was a mixture of panic, grief, and disbelief. "It's your mom. She collapsed this morning. The doctors. They're trying everything, but it doesn't look good." Kelly didn't remember dropping the phone. She didn't remember standing or falling into Mark's arms or the way he held her so tightly that it almost hurt. She only remembered the cold. A sudden, rushing cold that felt like it came from inside her chest, spreading outward. The next hour was a blur of hurried packing, frantic calls to their children, and a silent car ride to the airport where Mark held her hand so firmly that it never slipped even once. Kelly, normally the energetic heart of any room, stared out the window in numb disbelief. Her mother had been fine, laughing just days ago on FaceTime, asking about the show, asking whether Kelly was eating enough, resting enough. How can this be happening? Kelly whispered. She wasn't asking Mark. She wasn't even asking herself. She was asking the universe. Mark didn't answer. Some questions had no answers. The hospital. When they finally reached the hospital, Kelly's siblings were already there, faces pale, eyes red. Her brother, usually the strong one, hugged her with a trembling grip that told her everything before he even opened his mouth. "She's unconscious. They're doing what they can." Kelly entered the room slowly, her breath catching as she saw her mother lying there, surrounded by machines. A woman who once brimmed with warmth and vibrancy now looked so still, so delicate. For a moment, the world felt impossibly quiet. Kelly sat beside her, taking her mother's hand gently in her own. "Mom, I'm here," she whispered, though she wasn't sure her voice carried. Mark stood beside her, resting a steadying hand on her shoulder, grounding her with his presence. He had seen Kelly in every possible emotional state: joy, exhaustion, stress, and triumph. But he had never seen this, a vulnerability so deep it felt sacred. Doctors came in and out, speaking in careful, controlled tones about cardiac complications, sudden decline, emergency measures. Every word felt like another blow, another crack in the foundation of Kelly's world. At one point, a doctor pulled Kelly aside gently. "We're doing everything we can, but your mother's heart is very weak. You should prepare yourself." Kelly's knees softened, and Mark caught her before she could collapse. He didn't say anything. He didn't need to. He simply held her, letting her cry the kind of cry that came from a place beyond sadness, a cry that belonged to fear. A family united in pain. Hours passed. The family stayed together, holding vigil in the cold, bright hospital waiting room. Lola, Michael, and Joaquin arrived one by one, each of them wearing the same expression, heartbreak mixed with disbelief. Kelly tried to stay strong for them. She was their mother, after all. She was the one who taught them resilience, optimism, compassion. But now her voice trembled, and her arms shook when she hugged them. At one point, Joaquin put his arm around her and whispered, "Mom, it's okay to not be okay right now." Something about his words, simple, sincere, made Kelly collapse into him, letting herself lean on her children the way they once leaned on her. Mark watched quietly, wiping his own eyes discreetly. Seeing Kelly, the strongest person he knew, breaking like this tore something inside him. But he didn't step away. He didn't falter. Every moment he was at her side, silent but unwavering. The update that changed everything. Late in the afternoon, when the waiting room was heavy with exhaustion and fear, the doctor returned. Everyone stood. Kelly's hands were cold. Mark wrapped his fingers around hers. The doctor took a breath. She's stable, but still critical. She regained brief responsiveness, but we need to keep her under close monitoring. The next 48 hours are crucial. It wasn't good news, but it wasn't the worst news either. Kelly burst into tears, not of relief, not of despair, but something complicated and painful between the two. Mark guided her back to the chair, rubbing her back gently. "We're here, Kel. We'll get through this. Whatever happens, we face it together." And she believed him, because she had always believed him. Flashbacks of love. As night fell, Kelly sat beside her mother again, watching the rhythmic rise and fall of her chest. Memories flooded her mind: holidays, childhood birthdays, school plays, wedding preparations, the day she got her first job on television. Her mother had been there for everything. A calm anchor, a voice of reason, a well of unconditional love. "Mom," Kelly whispered, brushing her thumb across her mother's hand. "You're the strongest person I know. If anyone can fight through this, it's you." Her mother's eyelids fluttered faintly, and for a moment Kelly thought she saw movement. Hope sparked so fiercely in her chest that she gasped. But the machines remained steady. No miracle yet. Mark slipped into the chair beside her, touching her knee gently. "Talk to her," he encouraged. "She'd want to hear your voice." Kelly nodded. She leaned closer, telling her mother about the kids, about Mark's silly attempt at cooking last week, about the holiday plans they had. Anything to fill the silence, anything to remind her mother that she wasn't alone. The moment of truth, near midnight, Kelly stepped out to get water. When she returned, she saw a nurse adjusting her mother's monitors, speaking softly to another doctor. Something about their body language froze her in place. Is something wrong?" she whispered. They hesitated, exchanging a glance. Her heart dropped. "Her vitals are fluctuating again," the doctor said carefully. "We're responding, but we need you to be prepared." Prepared. The word echoed in her mind, sharp and metallic. Kelly felt as if the world were pulling away from her. She stood motionless, her breathing shallow, until she felt a familiar hand slide into hers. "Mark. Always Mark." "We're facing whatever comes," he said softly. "I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." She leaned into him, letting the weight of everything press against his chest. She couldn't stop her tears, and he didn't try to wipe them away. He just held her, steady and strong. A heartbreaking night. The night stretched endlessly, a painful blend of exhaustion and fear. The family drifted in and out of shallow sleep, waking with every footstep in the hallway, every beep of a machine. Kelly stayed awake the entire time. She watched her mother breathe. She listened to the monitors. She prayed silently, desperately. At one point, she laid her head on the mattress beside her mother's hand, whispering, "Please, please stay. I'm not ready to let you go." Mark sat behind her, his hand resting protectively on her back. The dawn of uncertainty. When dawn finally came, pale and quiet, the doctor entered softly. Kelly stood immediately, heart pounding. "We made it through the night," he said gently. "She's still with us. Still fragile, but stable for now." Kelly burst into tears for the 100th time, but this time her sob carried a thread of hope. Mark wrapped his arms around her, holding her as she trembled. "We're not done fighting," he whispered, "and neither is she." And Kelly believed it, because even through tragedy, even through the darkest hours, love had kept them standing. They faced a devastating shock. They faced fear. They faced the possibility of loss, but they faced it together. And sometimes that is the only thing that keeps a family from falling apart.